Hiya, Estelle Reid. Welcome to Thoughts on Tuesday. So today's topic is how to deal with misbehaviour in inverted commas in the workplace. When I work with either HR departments or leaders, one of the things that's a regular topic of conversation is how to deal with difficult employees. An example could be having a bit of a strop in a meeting. I think leadership is very much like parenting, in that it's much easier if the member of staff just does what you want them to do. And what do you then do if you've got a bit of a rebellious child on your hands? And just as if you got a child who was misbehaving, you'd want to understand why they were doing what they were doing. So let's say they're having a bit of a temper tantrum. The first thing you would tend to do as a parent is say, are they hungry? Are they tired? Or is there an emotional upset? And often in business, there can be emotional upset, which makes members of staff kick off. I'm sure some of you will be familiar with the iceberg diagram. So this is the tip of the iceberg. So we've got the water there. And beneath the surface, you'll see there's so much more. And it's same with human behaviour. So we see the naughty behaviour on the surface, which is just the tip of the iceberg. And as a coach, what I'm interested in is the stuff that's beneath the surface. So this can be values, beliefs, past experience. And all of this drives the stuff on the surface, so the present day behaviour. So one of the first things I want to know, what's triggered them to behave in a particular way? Let's say somebody's not meeting their financial target, and when we're wanting to get someone to change their behaviour or their actions, there are two ways of skinning a cat, aren't there? We can force someone to change their behaviour either through threat or discipline, or we can get to root cause and get the individual to establish their alternative ways of behaving. And that's the traditional coaching approach. And then there is another alternative where you can cheat and you can use something, you'll have heard me talk about havening before, to get rid of that root cause, and that's what I'm going to explain next. So this is the nature versus nurture model of personality. So you'll see it's broken down into three areas. Imprint is age 0 to 7, which is the most important time in anyone's life. Then we've got the modelling phase between 8 and 14. This is where we literally copy other people's behaviour. And the final phase is the socialisation phase. So this is where our personality is influenced by our social group. So back to somebody that's underperforming. Often one of the major causes can be that they just don't feel good enough. And I will say to them, what's your earliest memory of not feeling good enough? And we'll go searching around for incidents that have occurred around about age 0 to 7. The typical areas include incidents at school. A common one is kids putting their hand up, being brave, and answering a question and getting something wrong. If that occurs during age 0 to 7, from that one minor incident, they can then start to believe that they're not good enough. Now, of course, you might be sat there thinking, what, seriously, that one event has made somebody feel like they're not good enough and is impacting on their performance in present day. But the thing is, that's the thing about the imprint period. Whatever we are told, we believe to be true, and we've not developed an analytical mind where we can gain that adult perspective that we have now. So take, for example, if you were back in that classroom situation and you got something wrong, you wouldn't then class yourself as a failure for the rest of your life. But whilst we're in that vulnerable state, age 0 to 7, we just take things as read, hence why we believe in Santa Claus. Then what happens, the brain's quite a clever thing, in that as future events occur that are similar and are also connected with not feeling good enough, we get like this connected series of events. Then what happens in adulthood is a similar event occurs, we re-experience the old emotions that we experienced as a child. If we can cheat, as mentioned earlier, and use something like havening to get rid of those events, and we get rid of the triggers, then we get this automatic change in behaviour in adulthood. And this is what happened with that client. It was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that they feared they weren't good enough, and this inner stuff was actually, it came true. She wasn't good enough, but she went from being the worst performer in the department to the best performer. And it was just, as I say, because we cheated and got rid of the connected event. To summarise, if you've got a member of staff, or it might even be you that's misbehaving, in inverted commas, the first thing to question is why, or to understand the root cause. And then through raising that self-awareness, once you've understood why, then you can work to try and fix it, and either come up with an action plan with your team member, or cheat and use something like havening. I will put in the bottom of this post a link which shows you how to use self-havening. Alternatively, if you're genuinely interested in coaching, book a free discovery session. I'll include a link for that as well.